We continue our rolling coverage on the reaction to the Constitutional Court's ruling that the local government elections must go ahead. The IEC had launched an application to have the poll delayed due to concerns that the pandemic affects its ability to hold free and fair elections. The Apex Court says elections must take place between the 27th of October and the 1st of November. I'm now joined by DA Federal Chair, that's Helen Zille, to discuss the issue. Now, she has also come under fire for suggesting that the ANC may have received a tip-off from the Constitutional Court on its ruling. This after the ANC withdrew its electoral court application to have the deadline for the submission of the candidate lists extended. Madam Zille, firstly, thank you for joining us on the program. Now, you've previously said that the Constitutional Court would be overstepping its mandate if it decided to postpone the local government elections. Firstly, talk us through the DA's initial reaction to the Apex Court's judgment.
Well, we fought very, very hard for this. We briefed a top legal team. They went in and didn't pull their punches. They basically made the point, and many others, that the Constitutional Court's role is not to suspend sections of the Constitution, not to postpone elections, not to change timeframes of elections which are set down in the Constitution. Their job is to defend the Constitution. And we spelled that out in all of our papers. We argued very strongly that the Constitutional Court should take the position that they have taken, and I'm delighted, and we all are delighted, that they did. It's a very, very important judgment for South Africa.
Now, the DA has always maintained that the elections could be held during the pandemic if all the COVID-19 protocols were applied, and further went on to say that the other countries had managed to do so without any problems, with the exception of just a few. Explain to us how the polls can be held without becoming a super spreader events.
Well, you have seen what they have done, for example, in Zambia, and that is a very close country to us, has even perhaps weaker infrastructure than we've got, and they held a very successful election without turning it into a super spreader event. We have become used to sanitizing, to social distancing, to mask wearing, to all of the things that enable us to go around our daily business in a COVID pandemic. I was in a shopping mall the other day. It was absolutely packed, and people were standing cheek by jowl without masks in the food court there, for example. People queue for SASSA grants, people queue for the vaccination, people queue for everything every day. We do all of those things. There's no reason at all why we shouldn't vote.
I want us to shift gears a bit and speak about another matter. You've described it as a joke that you're now being lambasted for suggesting that the Constitutional Court may have tipped the ANC off about its ruling on the postponement of the local government elections. Why do you insist that your remarks are justified in this regard?
Well, in Nhlanhla, interestingly enough, many other people have made exactly the same point. Many other people have made them since yesterday's judgment. If you just go back and read Die Burger again this morning, you will see that Theo Venter, one of the top political analysts in this country, has made exactly the same point again this morning. My speculation on this issue started when I read Die Burger, and when I saw that Andre Duvenage, another top political analyst, has speculated on exactly the same issue. That was on Wednesday. So, thinking about why the ANC would have put in its appeal to the Electoral Court for the reopening of candidate registration and then withdrew it so suddenly without any explanation, I thought Die Burger and Andre Duvenage may well have a point. So I phoned the professor, we discussed it through, and then I sent out a series of 4 tweets. Now, if you look at those 4 tweets in context, one after the other, they never accuse anybody. They say if. Now, obviously, if is very clearly speculative, and almost all political analysis has an element of speculation. Sometimes it is right, sometimes it is wrong. So it's a joke to pick me out amongst all the people who have speculated and analyzed in exactly the same way, including the media this week. But it just reveals the media's agenda about Helen Zille. I'm not scared. Bring it on. I really am not scared, because I know that you guys would like to have a fight with me, whatever I do, and you know what? It only helps us.
Now, in the same breath, you also say that if information is leaking from the Apex Court to the ANC, it is nothing short of a constitutional crisis. Explain this assertion further, please.
Yes. The most important word to explain there is if. If. Now, most South Africans understand the word if. It isn't saying that it is happening. It says, if it were the case that it were happening,
I see.
Then it would be a constitutional crisis. And I think everybody agrees with that, unless there's something about if that you don't understand.
Well, let's get the ANC's reaction as well, or their response to the claims that the party's national spokesperson, Pulemabe, having been quoted, claiming that these assertions that you're making are just malicious and also baseless. He goes further to say that this is a grave insult to the integrity of the ConCourt and the judiciary in general. What's your response to the statement?
Well, my response to the statement is this. For a long time, the Judicial Service Commission that recommends judges for appointment has been becoming an extension of the ANC's deployment committee. I served on the Judicial Service Commission, and that body has become a disgrace. It has a majority of ANC MPs or ANC appointees, and they often come to that body with a mandate from the ANC's deployment committee. Now that means that we are straight into judiciary capture. That's what that means. And Cyril Ramaphosa himself said to the Zondo Commission that the ANC's deployment committee discussed deployments to the bench. And Sidney Mufamadi, again, before the Zondo Commission, said that the State Security Agency had a slush fund for paying off judges. Now, that was raised by an ex-minister who investigated the rot in the intelligence service, and it just evaporated. Small little rash of reporting, nothing big. That is totally scandalous. And if the ANC is saying that their deployment committee is deploying judges to the bench, and if Mufamadi, who investigated the intelligence services, is saying that there was a slush fund to buy off judges, then hypothesizing about what could be happening to the bench seems to be an entirely logical thing to do.
Now, before I let you go, I just want to go back to our initial discussion around your reaction to the ConCourt's decision. Let's speak to the party's, or rather the DA's, own preparations for the upcoming local government elections. I mean, as we would remember, in the 2016 local government elections, the party made a headway in a number of key municipalities. What will your campaigning be looking like, especially in the midst of this pandemic?
Well, we've all known since the same time, February last year, that we're in a pandemic. So no one's been caught by surprise by this pandemic. And I've been very fortunate enough to be the chair of the Federal Council, responsible for making sure that all the systems are turning well and working well, together with many other excellent people, our Chief Operating Officer and various others. And so we've been working to prepare for the election for well over a year now. So we've got everything together. Our posters are printed, our leaflets are done, our plan is there. Our candidates are registered. For the very first time, we've got a candidate in every ward in South Africa. We are ready.
But are you confident of a decisive win in the local government elections?
Well, you know, I don't like pumping us up before. I am as confident as I could be, given the amount of work that has gone into it, and it's been enormous. And given the quality of the people that we've got, our mayoral candidates, we had a big release of our metro mayoral candidates. Our other local candidates are being presented to their B municipalities, as they're called, all over the country. And it is going extremely well. So we've known about this pandemic. We all had the same prior knowledge from February last year. Then surely somebody in the ANC must be saying, whoa, we've got an election coming up. It'll be held under totally new circumstances, and we better start preparing for it. That's what we did.
Well, always a pleasure speaking to you, Madam Helen Zille. She's, of course, the Federal Chair of the DA. And let's